श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवं यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वय भट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखर योगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् वेदान्तदेशिककटाक्षविवृद्धबोधं कान्तोपयन्त्रयमिनः करुणैकपात्रं वत्सान्ववायम् अनवद्यगुणैरुपेतं भक्त्या भजामि परवादिभयङ्करार्यम्. Okay, so fifth one. Raghu. अत्र्यादिसप्तर्षयः समुपास्य सन्ध्याम्
अत्र्यादिसप्तऋषयः समुपाद्य सन्ध्याम्
समुपास्य सन्ध्याम्
अत्र्यादिसप्तऋषयः समुपास्य सन्ध्याम्
आकाशसिन्धुकमलानि मनोहराणि
आकाशसिन्धुकमलानि मनोहराणि आकाशसिन्धुकमलानि मनोहराणि
आदाय पादयुगमर्चयितुं प्रपन्नाः
आदाय पादयुगमर्चयितुं प्रपन्नाः आदापामर्चयितुं प्रपन्नाः
शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम्
शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम्
कल्पका अत्र्यादिसप्तर्षयः समुपास्य सन्ध्याम् कल्पका dropped off. Is it? Okay. Shiva?
Sorry, Mahoday.
Okay.
अत्र्यादिसप्तर्षयः समुपास्य सन्ध्याम् अत्र्यादिसप्तर्षयः समुपास्य सन्ध्याम् आकाशसिन्धुकमलानि मनोहराणि आकाशसिन्धुकमलानि मनोहराणि आदाय पादयुगमर्चयितुं प्रपन्नाः आदाय पादयुगमर्चयितुं प्रपन्नाः शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् I'll just repeat the
चलो
अत्र्यादिसप्तर्षयः समुपास्य सन्ध्याम् आकाशसिन्धुकमलानि मनोहराणि आदाय पादयुगमर्चयितुं प्रपन्नाः शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम्.
Very beautiful. Atriyadi saptarishaya samupasya sandhyam. So now all the waking process is now going further. Now the attention is brought to the people who are waiting for Perumal or Bhagavan to wake up. So it starts to say Atriyadi Saptarishaya Samupasya Sandhyam. Samupasya Sandhyam. So they have come there, Atri and the other rishis. So there are Saptarishis, right? There are Saptarishis that we know. Of course, there are little few variations of the Saptarishis. One of the most common ones starts with Atri. So you have Atri, Agastya, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Kashyapa, Vasishtha, and Vishwamitra. Okay. There are 7 rishis who are considered to be in a way, they're considered to be the um, source of all understanding that we have today. What it means is they are one of the best explanations I've heard of what a rishi is that rishi is a spiritual scientist. Okay, which means that they explore the inner dimension like how the scientist explores the phenomenal world. So the phenomenal world or the external world, in a way, how the scientist explores it so intensely, so intently, and so deeply. They go all the way on one side to all the celestial bodies, the large celestial bodies, and as far as possible to these to galaxies beyond this galaxy, several galaxies, etc. on one side, and on the other side they go as minuscule as 1 millionth of an atom, 1 trillionth of an atom, and so on and so forth, right? So they go extremely infinitesimally um, smaller expressions or smaller uh, uh,
Articles.
particles or expressions of matter, smallest expressions of matter to the largest expressions of matter, right? So the matter or the material world they cover who the scientists that we know of, right? But rishis are spiritual scientists. They do the exact same thing in the inner world, in the inner dimension. And what they figured out is this Brahmanda, which is whatever that you see in the external world, the phenomenal world, and the Pindanda, which means whichever is this inner world, it is a reflection. The Pindanda is a reflection of the Brahmanda. The Brahmanda is a reflection of the Pindanda. Pindanda and Brahmanda means essentially the macrocosmic, which is the Brahmanda, microcosmic is the Pindanda. So they have, through their process of inner exploration, now for the scientists of the world or for the material world, they need instruments. They need instruments on the outside to do these explorations, right? Devices on the outside. But for inner exploration, the only device that the rishis used was themselves. They just used their body, their mind, their intellect, their energies, and the body processes. They used just this to explore the inner dimensions. And this is what they did. So, rishi that way are, so which is what I started off saying, that they are sources of spiritual understanding that we carry today, which means they have done significant amount of research in this space and given a lot of texts, a lot of our spiritual texts, so-called spiritual texts or text in this area of exploration, inner exploration, has some level of depth of research done by rishis. So the rishis are brought into context here. So there are 7 rishis, and also there is another tradition of referring to these 7 rishis as the 7 constellations that we have, right? The 7 constellations that are formed from the point of view of Earth. There are 7 rishis that correspond to the 7 constellations, which means to say that these rishis are chiranjeevis. The rishis are also sapta rishis, are known as people who have lived, who continue to live in some form or the other throughout multiple yugas. So you, like, for example, you will see Agastya appearing, Vishwamitra appearing across, or Vasishta, for example, appearing across yugas. You will see them in Ramayana, you will see them in Satya Yuga, you will see them in Ramayana, you will see them in Mahabharata. So they appear to have lived through um, multiple yugas. So they almost perceived as immortals, right? So there are these 7 rishis who are there. They are standing some upasya. They are standing here to worship you. To worship you, they are standing here and they are doing their morning, the Sandhya Vandana, right? The morning prayers. Some upasya sandhyam at this dawn, at the time of dawn, Atri Adi Rishihi. Atri Adi Rishihi Rishayah. So this thing is plural, Rishayah. Atriadi Rishaya Samupasya Sandhyam. So they have come, all these rishis have come, having done their Sandhya Vandana, they are standing there to worship you. Akasha Sindhu Kamalani Manoharani. So Akasha Sindhu is the reference here is made to a certain waterfall that is in the Tirumala area. It is called Akasha Ganga. Akasha Ganga is the belief is that the water in Akash Ganga flows from the feet of Lord Venkateswara. So Lord Balaji's feet is the source of Akasha Ganga. So this is Ganga that flows from Akasha, from an unknown source, from the it's an etheric. There's a lot of um, sanctity and sacredness that is attributed to Akasha Ganga water, the waterfall. Now, of course, we know the waters that usually flow down from some of these mountains, etc. They carry a lot of beneficial qualities generally. See, those who have come for this Kedar Badri Yatra and all, you will notice that even while walking, you can just, if you're feeling thirsty, you don't have to open up your bottle to drink water. You can just, if you pass by a stream and if you're able to gather some clean water that's coming down, you can just drink it off like that. It's rich with minerals and very, very beneficial. And it's so the water that comes down the stream, and Tirumala is actually a hill, and there are many, many medicinal herbs. In fact, I used to walk up Sholingar temple. Those who know of Sholingar Malai, it's about 5 to 8, 10 kilometers from Arakonam in Tamil Nadu. And there is a Narasimha temple on top of the hill. Just 1 second, sorry. Sorry. So the Sholingar temple is where Narasimha resides there, resides as in there is a Narasimha Sannadhi there, and that is called Yoga Narasimha. And so in this, to get to the temple, you actually have to walk up. There are about 1300 to 1500 steps, and then you walk up that. And so my parents had gone there and we stayed there, and I walked up every day. We stayed there for about 2 weeks, and I remember walking up there every day. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to go up, and then roughly about that time to come down. Very beautiful. Anjaneer, correct. So there is an Anjaneer temple besides called Chinnamalai. This is Periyamalai, that is Chinnamalai. And the Anjaneer temple is roughly about 500, 600 stairs. But it's very beautiful, the temple there. But the interesting thing there is about as you go up, as you walk up, you will notice that you can actually, and whenever I walk up, I remember having just drank off the streams of water that flows down. In fact, I very clearly remember we had to bring in water, drinking water we were staying in a cottage. And of course, this is the time I'm talking about buying water was not, it was not commonplace. You don't go buy water like we do today, right? It is not so commonplace. And particularly we were from Bombay. So Bombay clean water was always a thing, right? It is there. Clean water was there. And so here the way to get drinking water, potable water, was you go up, and in the stream they would have fitted a pipe, and the pipe you just go hold your cans of this thing that you want, you fill cans and then come down and use that as drinking cooking water. So I used to do that, and that water used to be really nice, very refreshing, and it's natural and filled with minerals that flow up from all the way from the mountain top, the hilltop, right? So Akasha Ganga, just the context here is Akasha Ganga. In a certain way, it is also, of course, they say it flows from the feet of Venkateswara and all of that, just to give it a certain stature of sanctity and sacredness. But besides that, it's just that it's extremely rich with minerals and herbal content that flows down from there. Because those hills are known to have a lot of herbs that grow naturally, right? In the Tirumala hills. Now, so that comes down. Now, the other important thing about Akasha Ganga is this water is actually used for Abhisheka and all of that inside the temple precinct. So, if you remember the story where Prativadi Bhayankara Manna was carrying the water, and they add some stuff to that, additional stuff, Pachakalpuram and camphor, ilaichi and all of that, before it is sent to Bhagavan for his Abhishekam. And he forgets to add that when he was listening to somebody talk about Manavala Maminungal and all that. So you remember that story from the first session that we did. So this is where he goes and he would fill the water and bring it for Bhagavan's Abhishekam. So Akasha Ganga that way is used for that kind. The water from there is the water that is only used for the Abhishekam at the altar here. So he says Akasha Ganga, Akasha Sindhu, which is the water or the Sindhu or the river that's flowing from Akasha, which is the Akasha Ganga, the stream that's flowing. Kamalani Manoharani. They take refuge at your feet, at your beautiful feet. The Kamala here is the lotus feet, and they take refuge at your beautiful lotus feet, which means it flows from you, or that itself takes refuge in you, and hence it has become sacred. So here, Anna Pratyadi Bhayankara Anna is probably trying to attribute the water is sacred because it has now taken refuge in your feet. So the water comes from your feet, hence it is sacred. Akasha Sindhu Kamalani Manoharani. Adaya Padayugam Archayitum Prapannaha. Adaya, having taken Padayugam Archayitum Prapannaha. So Adaya, just give me one moment. Beautiful flowers. Okay. So the waters for your Abhishekam has been brought now from the Akasha Ganga or Akasha Sindhu in order to worship you. Akasha Adaya, so for to now worship your feet and do Abhishekam to you, Archayitum, to do Archana to you or to do worship to you. The Prapannaha are all the ones who are the devotees, Bhaktaha. Prapannaha ityukte means Bhaktaha. The ones those who are Bhaktas, they have now filled up all the water and brought it. What? To worship you. Seshadri Shekhara Vibho Tava Suprabhatam. O Seshadri Shekhara Vibho, wake up. Tava Suprabhatam. May you wake up. So here the rishis are brought in. There is a reference to Akasha Ganga. So essentially, Prapayitum Shakyante iti Prapannaha. Prapayitum. Here, Prapannaha essentially means those who have offered themselves in Prapatti. Prapatti is Sharanagati. So those who have done Prapatti, means they offered themselves in surrender to the Lord. They are called prapanna. It's a noun there. So now they have brought this water and waiting for you in your service to do the rituals of abhisheka, etc. So which means தண்ணி சூடா இருக்கு குளிக்கிறதுக்கு வாங்கன்னு சொல்ற மாதிரி. The water is hot. Geyser போட்டாச்சா தண்ணி சூடாச்சா அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. So here all the Atri and the other rishis are all standing in line to offer their prayers. Get up now and come and open up your eyes and get up so that we can do this whole archana. Now what is the process of archana? We do abhisheka and then we do the shodashopachara, right? We do all the 16 different upacharas to you. It starts with waking you up, then doing your abhisheka, then doing the rest of the upacharas. They are all waiting. The rishis are waiting. The rishis are waiting. Who are these rishis? The rishis who span across all the yugas, and they continue to be there. They're almost like immortal sages who have lived through time, and they come and they stand at your doorstep so that you open up. Now there's an interesting reference here of Rishi and Akasha and Seshadri. See, as I told you earlier, it started off with Uttishta Kamala Kanta, all of that, right? So the mother, the Rama, Krishna, the mother, and then he is referred to as Vrishashailanatha. And we discussed last time as Vrishashaila is why Vrisha or Vrishabha reference is brought in. The reference of bull comes, right? Where you try to come over your animal tendencies. You rise above the animal tendencies when you wake up. And then we spoke about Madhukaita Bharehe, which means you also rise above the likes and dislikes. So all of that happens. Now, from now onwards, it is the rising of energies within us. Seshadri Shekhara Vibho. Sesha, one of the mountains is called Seshadri, right? Of the 7 hills, one of the hills is called Seshadri. Sesha actually means that which remains. Okay, that which remains. Adi Sesha is that which remained at the beginning. So he is a Sesha, which means, of course, the Naga is also called Sesha. The Naga, the snake, is also called Sesha. What it actually means is Sesha means that which remains at the end of everything. This is, in a way, kind of a response to the Shunya philosophy of Buddhism. Buddhist philosophies talk about Shunya, which means there is nothing. That is a certain way of looking at things. But the subsequent Vedantic philosophies or the Astika philosophies, they essentially present an idea that there is something that is there. At the end of it's hard to define, hard to put a finger on it, but it's something that is existing when everything else dissolves. Everything else goes, there is a Sesha that remains. That is why he is referred to, Narayana or Bhagavan or the supreme consciousness is Sesha, because it remains at the end when everything else dissolves, right? So here, and Sesha is also referred to as Naga. So Naga is usually in yogic sciences and tantric sciences, Naga references are made to indicate energies. So the rise of energy. So here, from this shloka onwards, verse onwards, he keeps referring to him as Seshadrishekhara Vibho, Seshadrishekhara Vibho, Seshadrishekhara Vibho, which means he is essentially pointing out to the rising of energies within us. It's not just important that we get up, but the whole rising up needs to happen. Right? And the rising up is indicated by the in yoga, in Kundalini Shastra, it's called as Kundalini. In the chakra, in the Shat Nirupana chakra, it is referred to as the Kundalini Shakti. So the Kundalini Shakti, it goes up, and that is the process of this is almost like a physical representation of the inner spiritual progress. The inner spiritual progress happens from chakra to chakra. So what happens within us, there's no physical, I mean, there's no, it's like suddenly somebody cannot come and see and say that, okay, your chakra is sitting here or this chakra has been activated. Of course, there are those who have the eyes to see it are able to, but generally it's not something that's seen on the outside, right? If somebody grows pale, you can see, why is your face pale? If somebody is very energetic, you'll be able to see that, but this is not an external manifestation that way. These are inner spiritual understanding at one goes through these chakras rise. And we've spoken about chakras and kundalini and all that, and several other Lalita Sahasranama, Saundarya Lahari and all that, right? So this one, we should look at it as though the energies are rising. As we wake up, we have to be conscious about how our energies are rising within us. We become more conscious about that. We become conscious about the am I um, am I are my energies in the gross, in the still in the um, drawn towards heavy material desires when I wake up, or am I waking up lightheaded? Am I waking up with my energy slightly joyful, slightly better in terms of um how I hold myself, right? So these energies are something that we work with. So when we wake up, for example, we do some breathing, we do some chants, whatever we do, we essentially work ourselves up to become slightly more and more meditative. So when you notice yourself, there is a lot of lethargy in the body. When you wake up, there is a tendency to be tamasic. Tamasic means tendency to be um, um, gross in a way, which means just stick to the physical desires uh, um, 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 or just the mental, emotional desires that we carry. But as we rise above, we become a little meditative. We do a little bit of chanting. You listen to, like, for example, you listen to Venkateswara Suprabhatam. It kind of raises your energy a little bit. You listen to some chants. You listen to Rudram, Chamakam, Namakam. You listen to a lot of other Vedic chants. It raises your energy a little bit. So you do methods in trying to raise your energy, right? So from this sloka onwards, you notice there is a little bit of a shift in terms of you're not just getting up slowly, but you're also focusing on trying to raise the energies within you upwards from the gross to subtle to subtler to subtlest, right? How do you make yourself a little more and a little more and a little more meditative so that our perception widens, the ability to see things much more clearly widens, which is why Rishi is also brought in here. Because Rishi, the word Rishi, there are many roots to the word Rishi, but one of the important roots is uh, Pashyati or Drish. Drish is a root in Sanskritam. From that, the Rishi word is derived. That is one of the etymological roots of Rishi. Drish. Drish means to see. In Sanskrit, it's called, when you say to see, it is Pashyati. So, the one who is able to really see the way things are is a Rishi. The one who has been able to perceive things the way they actually are instead of getting muddled up with their mental and psychological drama, if we are able to see the way the things are as you wake up, then there is a possibility to become like a rishi. And rishi is also one who shows you, darshayate iti rishi. So one who also shows you, which means this the ability to see things the way they are is a possibility. He is also a rishi. So Seshadri Shekhara Vibho, if you link the two, is the rising of energies. When you're actually waking up Venkateswara, you're also becoming conscious of the rising energies within you, and you're wanting to move the energy slowly from the gross to subtle to subtler and so on and so forth. Make it subtler and subtler so that you become more perceptive, you become more receiving, and you become a little more. And this brings about a certain joy. Naturally, there is a joy that comes along. And so, this is the way the rishis exist. The rishis always exist in the highest state. The Sesha or the Naga or the Kundalini Shakti or the energies are always in their highest state of expression. In fact, Atradi Sapta Rishaya, so there are 7 rishis. The Sapta also has multiple meanings, right? There are Sapta Chakras, the Sapta, there are 7 chakras that we have. There are also 7 doorways to go to Swargavasal, correct? At Tirumala, to go to meet Perumal, there are 7 doors, correct? Raghu, 7 doors இருக்குமாங்க திருமலால.
Sapta Prakara.
Sapta Prakara. There are
Sapta
7 doors.
Dwara.
Sapta
Doors
Dwara.
also there. 7 doors, 7 Dwara.
So if you notice, usually a lot of videos and all, even in this Challakera brothers video that I played, you will see multiple doors open to see Balaji there. This is also a representation of the same idea, which means to be able to perceive that Narayana in his full glory within you, you need to open up all the 7 doors, which means the 7 chakras, which means all these, all the energy centers within us have to open up for us to be able to see the full glory of Narayana. Right? And that is also represented by the Saptarishis. So Saptarishis are the ones who are with their fully blossomed consciousness. Their consciousness is fully blossomed. Even they are waiting out there. O Narayana, they're waiting out there to have your darshan. Of course, the Saptarishis, it's a poetic way of saying this, but in if one's consciousness is fully blossomed, they will be perceiving Narayana all the time. They will be in Narayana consciousness, Krishna consciousness. That will always be there. So this particular shloka kind of brings that perspective at Akasha Sindhu Kamalani Manoharani, which means the water that flows is, again, and you go to Saundarya Lahiri and Sudha Sindhor Madhye Suravatipi Vati Parivrite. So there is this Sudha Sindho, which means there is a nectar that flows. Sudha Sarabhi Varshini, Tatillata Samurchi Shat Chakro Parisanstita, Lalita Sahasra.
Even our Shyamala Dandak also Sudha Sagar.
Sudha Sagara. So that reference is there where Sudha is nectar or honey and that flows. So once when an individual has opened up all the energy centers or the possibilities of uh, rising up in their consciousness, rising up in their ability to perceive things the way they are, as that happens within, you become more and more finer and subtler in your ability to perceive. There is this nectar that flows, Akasha Sindhu. So the Akasha Sindhu here can also be taken as that nectar that's flowing down. So if you are able to emulate the Saptarishi, the Atriyadi Saptarashaya Samupasya Sandhyam, then Akasha Sindhu Kamalani. So as you raise your energy, Seshadri Shekhara Vibho, As you raise your energies, you have this Akasha Sindhu flowing down as a stream within us. And who represents this in the human form? The rishis represent this. The rishis themselves are in the supreme state of consciousness. They represent this and they also guide us in that direction. Risha, the other word of Risha also means Sarati, to flow. Rishi also means the one who flows. Right? So there is a whole presentation of flow that happens here. So you raise here, so there is a flow of energy from down to up. And when that happens, there is an equivalent flow of energy that comes from up to down. And this is always important. Like I've said this, my guru's guru says this, grace is grace is equally proportionate to the amount of effort that you put. So somebody says that I want grace, then have you put that much amount of effort? So you put in the effort and you be receiving, then you become available to grace. Right? So the Saptarishi represent that whole idea. Okay. So that is the fifth one. We look at the sixth one. Amma irikiyama? Okay. Maybe not. Gayatri?
சொல்றேன்
पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्याः
कंटेंट पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्याः पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्याः
त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति
त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति
भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात्
भाषापतिः पठति वासु भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात् भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात्
शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम्
शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्याः त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्याः त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम्
अम्मा चल रही अम्मा
चल
2 times चल रहे
पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्या त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम् पञ्चाननाब्ज भव षण्मुखवासवाद्याः त्रैविक्रमादिचरितं विबुधास्तुवन्ति भाषापतिः पठति वासरशुद्धिमारात् शेषाद्रिशेखर विभो तव सुप्रभातम्
First class, super. So Panchananabja Bhava Shanmukha Vasavadyaha. So there are more people waiting. O Narayana, Venkateswara. There are more people waiting at your doorstep for you to wake up. Who are they? Pancha Anana. five-faced Shiva. So Shiva is referred to having five-faced. Brahma is Chaturmukha Brahma. Shiva is five-faced. What are the five? Does anybody remember the five names of Shiva, the five forms? Ishana, Sadyajota, Tatpurusha,
Aghora.
Aghora. Ishana, Aghora, Vamadeva, Tatpurusha, Sadyajota.
Sadyojata.
Sadyojata.
Satyojata.
Thank you. Yeah, Sadyojata. So these are the five names: Ishana, Aghora, Vamadeva, Tatpurusha, Sadyojata. These are the five names, and these are the five aspects of Shiva, and which is why the Panchakshari also, Om Namah Shivaya, Nama Shivaya, Panchakshari. He is known to have someone who's got five aspects. So Panchanana, five-faced one, Shiva is waiting, Brahma is waiting, Abja, so the one who is born out of the lotus, Abja. He comes out of Narayana's lotus, right? From the navel of Narayana, there is a lotus that comes out, and from the lotus comes Brahma. So he is one who is coming from the lotus, Abja Bhava. And Shanmukha, the six-faced Subramanya. And Vasava Adyaha, Indra and other devatas. They are all waiting. Trivikramadi Charitam Vibudhas Tuvanti. So they are now propitiating to you as Trivikramadi. From the Trivikrama Avatara, the Vamana Avatara that you took, they are now thinking about you in that form. Trivikramadi Charitam. They are thinking about these Charita, all the stories of you, of all the avatars that you have taken. Trivikramadi. All the other avatars, etc., but including the Vamana Avatara and so on and so forth. They're thinking about all those, and they're discussing those glories about you. Charitam Vibudhaha Stuvanti. The learned men or the wise men there, all these wise people, they are narrating your stories, narrating your Puranas, the Dashavataras, etc. They're doing that. Bhashapatihi. Bhashapatihi is Brihaspati. Brihaspati, the guru of Devatas, is Brihaspati. He is Pathati Vasara Shuddhi Marat. He is reading the Panchanga. Brihaspati is standing there reading the Panchanga. Okay, இன்னைக்கு என்ன நாள், என்ன கிழமை, எது நல்ல நேரம், எது ராவு காலம். All of that he is reading that. Who? Brihaspati himself is standing reading.
டெய்லி கோவில்ல பெருமாள் கிட்ட பஞ்சாங்க வாசிப்பா. அந்த திருப்பதியில உண்டு, ஸ்ரீரங்கத்தெல்லாம்.
They will read the whole Panchangam. Very nice, very nice. Okay.
அந்த டே பஞ்சாங்கம் காத்தால வாசிப்பாங்க.
Panchangam, and after that collections of yesterday. They will really count and then tell the collection.
அப்படி அது இதுல ஸ்லோகத்துல போடல. Maybe at the time in 13th century when Pratyavadi Bhayankaram Anna was there, that was not the practice apparently.
What they call that as a kolu. That means courtyard. So after, yeah.
Very nice. So Brihaspati is now reading the Panchanga, and nobody is doing the collection discussion here. So he's only
Kubera is missing from action.
Kubera is missing. Correct. I was wondering who should it be. It is Kubera. Correct. So he will do the Panchanga reading, right? And he is doing also Shuddhi Karanas, which means he is also doing, Brihaspati is also doing the cleansing of the day, so that the day is beautiful for Bhagavan to rise. This is part of the usual daily puja, like Amma said, the puja vidhanam at the temple that happens every day. Raghu was also saying. And in fact, I understand even in Srirangam, this is the practice now. It's an ongoing practice, right? So, this is the practice. So what is happening here? All these devatas are waiting. Shiva, Brahma, Indra, all the other devatas are waiting. And they are all discussing your avatars, the Trivikramadi Charitam, all your avatars, the Purana, they're remembering and contemplating upon your various forms that you have taken as Narayana. They're talking about all, and they're contemplating on that. And in that process, during that, Bhashapati, who's Brahaspati, is sitting there and looking at the Panchanga and identifying the Punya Kala during the day. During the day, he's doing that. And also,
அவனுக்காக தான் 8 மணிக்கே வச்சேன். பாவம். சுத்தியலால அடிக்கிறாங்க.
okay. So all of this is happening. So this is happening, Venkateswara, Seshadri Shekhara Vibho, Tava Suprabhatam. So wake up to all of these beautiful things that's happening around you, right? And the day is beautiful. The day is being made beautiful. So the thing is, just look at it this way. Whether the day is beautiful or not, we usually refer to the Panchanga to see what time of the day is good, what date of the, what, all of that, right? Essentially the time of the day. But in a way to look at it, for a spiritual seeker or a spiritual sadhaka, all days are beautiful. There's nothing that stops you from doing anything that relates to your spiritual development. All days are beautiful. And if somebody like a Bhashapati or Brahaspati is standing there and chanting or reading the Panchanga, how can the day be bad? That is what it means to say. So he is the Bhashapati. He is the Pati or the Lord of Bhasha, of language. I know we're running over. Give me 2 minutes. We'll finish and wrap up this one. So he is Bhashapati, means he is the one who is the Lord of languages, which means he has got complete mastery over language and sounds and words. He is reading the Panchanga, Pathati Vasara Shuddhi Marat. So by the act of reading, Bhashapati himself, by the act of him reading it, the day is cleansed. Right? So we look at it that way. So which means whenever we think, when we wake up in the morning, we say, oh, iniki nalla naal, iniki ketta naal, iniki kari naal, iniki this day, that day, and all of that. Instead of falling into that, we see ways of cleansing our body, our mind, our energies, our emotions, and all of that. And we start the day in the most auspicious way possible. Right? So this is something that we need to do, which means we invoke Shiva, Brahma, Indra, we invoke all of these deities. Who are these deities? These are all the functionaries that function in the phenomenal world to keep the world running in its natural order, in dharma. Right? All of these devatas, if you remember reading, I mean, if you remember from the Laghu Nyasam of the Nyasam of any shloka particularly, and when generally, but in particular reference, Namaka or Rudram's Nyasam, you will read, you will see how these various deities are referred to as functionaries, as cosmic functionaries who are responsible for various functions that are happening in this natural world. So when you wake up, you invoke them. You invoke all the devatas. You invoke the devatas so that you are able to make the day beautiful for yourself. And so you also invoke that. And what do? You also think about the various charitas, with the various glories of the Lord, glories of Narayana, or whatever Bhagavata, Puranas, whatever Devi Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, or Shiva Puranam, or Lakshmi Devi Puranam, whatever we want to think about, or Skanda Puranam, whatever we've read about some stories that are inspiring, we think about those. You think about inspiring stories. You think about inspiring thoughts in the morning. And when you get that, then your day will be beautiful. Bhasha Pati Pathati Vasara Shuddhi Mara. The Shuddhi Karana of the day happens by us intentionally thinking about the right things, the auspicious things, inspiring things, glorious things, etc. And by invoking all the energies, Seshadri Shekhara Vibho Tava Suprabhatam. And then we'll have a beautiful waking up and a rising of the energies process every morning. Okay. So that is the sixth one. We will pause with the sixth one today and we'll pick it up next week. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana Va Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayati Samarpayami Sadashivayeti Samarpayami Jagadambikaye Samarpayami Sadgurunathayeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. See, a lot of times it's good to also re-listen to some of these things. I myself listen to some of these recordings because it's a good reminder in a way, because our minds are so caught up in everyday activities. We constantly need reminders. We constantly need reminders to stay connected within ourselves, to stay connected with the processes that are happening within us. Even to just pay attention to what is happening within us, we need reminders. And that is why every little thing within, outside, in the outside, you try to keep small reminders. Right? You have a photo here, you have a this thing here, you have a lingam there, you have a meru here, you have a ring here, whatever, you have a vibhuti in your forehead, you have a nama. All of these things you create an environment around you so that you constantly remind yourself. Constantly remind of how we should turn inwards and look for opportunities to keep turning inwards. Right? So listen to some of these things repeatedly. It'll definitely help us to stay rooted. And the morning waking up process, slowly it'll imbibe within us how the waking up process should be. And let the waking up process itself be a spiritual process within us. Right? Just the morning waking up ritual, let it not just be a ritual of waking up, let it be a spiritual waking process. Sorry, Mama, you're saying.
All these are pointers.
Correct.
Pointing to one thing. Nothing you Chanamari. Asighatam pointing towards Ganga.
Ganga, Asighat Ganga, Hanuman Ghat Ganga, every ghat takes us to Ganga.
Asighatam is an Arodu Ghatam.
All the 80 ghats. Correct. All the 80 ghats. So, true. So that way, so let's use this Venkateswara Suprabhatam also a method or a means to introspect and stay connected within. Okay. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.